Hi everybody, welcome back and welcome to my fictional favourites book tag. So I was tagged to do this a while back by An Erudite Adventure, so thank you very much to the two of them for tagging me in this. It's taken me a while to get around to this, honestly, just because I think they tagged me back when I was like going through it last semester and stuff, and I've just been like too busy to try and sit down and actually think of answering these questions, so I'm finally getting to it today. This is a tag about just a few different like favourite sort of things from fictional books and stuff, and fictional stuff that is like your favourite, so really interesting tag, really fun to try and come up with answers to these, so thank you again for tagging me in this. Let's get into it. Number one is your favourite genre. Fantasy, obviously. I mean, that should come as no surprise to anybody. I almost read exclusively fantasy, and then if I do read something different, it'll be YA or YA thrillers type things. I think I just like fantasy just because how how overly creative you have to be to do it. You know, you've got to come up with whole worlds and magics and politics and things. Like, it's just honestly fascinating, and it's just every author has like a completely different thing in their head, and I just cannot get enough of just all these worlds that people dream up and stuff, so it's easily my favourite genre. Number two, who's your favourite author? And for me it is Akemi Dawn Bowman. I discovered Akemi Dawn Bowman's writing when I was in a book club just at my local Waterstones back home in Aberdeen, and honestly, like, you know, because we were going to read her first two books, Starfish and Summer Bird Bloom, and I never really read that much YA contemporary before and stuff, but her books just, I don't know, they just pulled a hold of my heartstrings, and I'm just obsessed. I think just because I relate to a lot of the stuff that happens in her books. You know, the first book is about, you know, a character with divorced parents who goes to art school and stuff, has social anxiety. I mean, it's literally the story of my life. So it's just, oh, there's just something amazing that she always writes into her books where I can just connect with these characters so easily and can just relate to the things that they're going through and stuff. And she's recently going into fantasy. Infinity Courts is one of my favourite books, absolutely fantastic. So easily just one of my favourite authors. I love all three of her contemporaries. I love her fantasy novel. I basically read everything she's got out when I can get hold of it. She's got a couple of books that I still haven't read that I'm really excited to get to. You know, I just love her writing so much. What's your favourite book? Now, I've gone for three, and honestly one of them is a new entry into my favourites. The first one being The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. My friend bought me this book a couple of years ago. I've been obsessed with it ever since. It is just absolutely fantastic and magical and everything I love about fantasy and stuff, so this is easily one of my all-time favourite books. I think I stayed up till like 3 in the morning to read it and stuff, and that doesn't actually happen to me that often, so yeah, highly recommend this book if you haven't read it already. Another favourite is Starfish. As I've already mentioned, Akemi Dawn Bowman is my favourite author, and this one, as I said, is really just something that just I relate to so much, so that's one of the reasons why it's one of my favourites. You know, it's just honestly fantastic and I really love it. And last but not least, we have a new entry, and that has got to be Iron Widow by Xizhao. This was just so fun and just an interesting just mix of sci-fi and fantasy and Chinese history and stuff. I absolutely loved this book. I could not put it down. I'm so excited for the sequel. I really want to reread this already. It's now one of my all-time favourite books, I think, and I really like this one. So it's really fun actually to be able to just have a new favourite book. Sort of, I don't know, not this late in the game, but this late into like reading and stuff. You know, you almost think that your favourite books are going to be the ones you have nostalgia for, but honestly, Iron Widow is just that good. Number 4 is your favourite land or environment. Now, an obvious one is going to be the circus from the Night Circus. I mean, the descriptions in this book, it makes you want this circus to be real. You want to be able to go and experience all these tents and these sounds and these smells, and oh, I badly want this to be a real place. Holy shit. Like, oh, it would just be absolutely incredible if it was somewhere you could actually go and see. Like, the magic and like the fact that it's like it's not even magical, it just has that magical feel to it. Like, oh my god. Would love for it to be a real place. My other favourite environment has got to be the forest sort of setting in the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. This is sort of set kind of like, you know, Bronze Age sort of era, and definitely just this interesting sense of being at one with nature and this forest full of all these creatures and these animals and these sort of clans of people. I love the setting in this, and it's really interesting when you read online about, you know, when these books were coming out, a lot of people were saying things like, oh, I felt like it was based off of the forest in my country, despite the fact that I think initially she meant it to be like, you know, Scandinavian sort of Swedish forests. You know, there were people in Japan being like, oh no, I feel like this could have been set here kind of thing. And I really love that about it as well. You know, it's just this really interesting just generic forest setting that I just loved reading about. Highly recommend this series, by the way, if you haven't read it. If you want a good sort of like YA kind of middle grade almost kind of book, Absolutely fantastic series, but brilliant setting. Number 5 is your favourite spell. I don't have a specific spell that's my favourite, but my favourite magic has definitely got to be the magic from the Invisible Library, because you follow these people called librarians and they speak something that is simply called the language. And when you speak the language, you can like compel things to do something. So the magic in this is basically, if she says in the language, you know, book, rise, books will start levitating sort of thing. It's just such an interesting concept, and the language when you speak it sounds like your native language or something, and you cannot lie in the language. You know, there's some really, really interesting stuff, and you've got to be specific as well, because otherwise, you know, anything can happen. And I mean, I love this series so much, but I just think it's really, really fun that, you know, it's just that knowing the vocabulary, knowing your intention, knowing if you have the strength to pull off the spell according as to whether you're in a chaos or order inclined world, you know, really, really great magic system, and I just really, really enjoy the way Irene, our main character, has to kind of use it to her advantage and has to consider what she says before she says it and stuff. You know, really, really like it. It's one of my favourite magic systems. Number 6 is your favourite beast or creature. I wonder what my answer is going to be. I like dragons, okay? I'm a simple woman. I read Aragon as a kid, and now I'm obsessed with dragons. So coming close second though, obviously fairies, because I also clearly love fairies. But yeah, dragons are just really hella cool. It's a shame they're not real. Number 7 is favourite food, and I really cannot think of any fictional foods that I like or that I would want to try. Like there's you know, I've unfortunately not read that many books that have anything specific that's like to that world or something, so sadly I can't really think of anything for that one. The next one is number 8, favourite beverage. And that is this one drink from the Starless Sea that our character Mirabelle orders in Starbucks that she calls a honey stardust, and the description of it is that it's an Earl Grey tea with honey, vanilla and soy milk. And I can't tell if that's gross or if it would be nice, but I kind of want to try it just to see. I also can't tell if it's just the tea with like, you know, the flavourings and then a little bit of milk, like how you normally have tea, or if it's supposed to be a sort of like Vancouver fog type thing with flavourings, because that would also be quite nice to try. If you don't know what Vancouver fog is, I mean it's also called London fog, but obviously because I'm Scottish we want to have anything to do with England, so we call it Vancouver fog. It's basically where you have, like, instead of steeping your tea bag in water, you steep it in milk, so you almost get tea flavoured milk. I've never had it, but it looks interesting, and yeah, this one always sounds interesting, so that would have to be my favourite sort of fictional beverage that I actually do want to try one day. Number 9 is your favourite good character, and for me it's definitely Nami from the Infinity Courts. Her journey in this book is just so good. She's just this beautiful pacifist who is trying to do her best in this war that she finds herself caught up in, despite the fact that she's very much a pacifist and doesn't want to be fighting the AI and stuff. Like, I mean, oh, I love this book series, I love it so much. I'm going to be having a spoiler-free sort of why you should read it coming out soon, because it's really, really fantastic sci-fi that, like, deals with the cycle of violence and war and, you know, the whole idea of it's us versus them rather than trying to come to some sort of understanding of one another, you know. And she's just such a fantastic character who, honestly, oh my god, I love her. She's so cool. She's so good. Number 10 is your favourite bad/evil character, and for that I have to go with the villain from the Dead Djinn in Cairo. I'm not going to say who it is, because they are a bit of a twist villain. You know, their motivations are just always really interesting, and I did really, really enjoy just the twist of like, oh, that's who the villain is. And I would also have to say the various villains that we see in the Truth Witch series. No one that I can think of in the moment that I really enjoy, but just the collective of villains that you see, because they all have their own motivations and so many layers to why they're doing the things they do. Like, you know, one thing I think Susan Dent does really well is giving her villains depth and reason to the madness sort of thing. You know, absolutely fantastic, really, really great series. It's another one I'm going to have a Why You Should Read video of coming out soon, but absolutely fantastic just in how she writes all of her antagonists and all of her sort of villainous characters and stuff, so that's definitely going to have to be my answer for this one. Number 11 is your favourite male protagonist, and I have to go with Piranesi from Piranesi. He's just a really sweet character, and I think it's one thing that makes this book work so well is because it's just the story of this life that he's found himself in and how he sort of has these rituals and stuff, you know, absolutely brilliant. I really, really like his character. He's just so sweet, and just, you know, poor boy just needs time to be left alone. And I also really liked Galharrow from Blackwing by Ed McDonald. This was a sort of surprise favourite for me from last year. And Galharrow is just a really interesting main character. You know, he's just, you know, he's this sort of, you know, rugged kind of, you know, hardened soldier who's had some stuff happen in his past and things, and is just trying to deal with that. Brilliant, brilliant character, and I really enjoyed following him as a protagonist, so I'm really looking forward to the rest of that series to see what he gets up to. And last but not least, your favourite female protagonist, and that is Zashan from Iron Widow. I support women's rights. I also support women's wrongs, because holy shit, she does a lot of wrong shit in this book, but that's why we love her. She's so angry, and I love seeing women allowed to be angry in books, and she's just so full of rage. She's such a mood. I love her, would die for her. And she'd probably let me die for her as well, so you know. But yeah, but that's it from the favourites tag. I'm not going to tag anybody because I've got no idea who to tag, I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of people have already done this. But thank you again to Tony and Kate for tagging me in this. If you haven't checked out the Erudite Adventure, definitely go check out their channel. Especially because I've managed to say their channel name at least 3 times without stopping over it. There was one time that I tried to tag them in a tag video. I ended up not tagging them because I could not for the life of me say their channel name. It kept coming out as Erudite Adventure. I just could not say it. So the fact that I'm able to say it in this video, I'm pleased with myself. Would just like to tell you that. Sometimes I can't say shit. It's good fun. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Feel free to leave a like on this video. Feel free to subscribe. Leave down a comment. Have you read any of the books that I've mentioned here? Do you agree with what I've said about them? You know, let me know down in the comments. And let me know your answers to some of these questions. If you do this tag video, let me know. I'd like to see what your answers are. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.